What's that?
Just like another computer chat.
Yeah. Do we have another one?
There's one that's live right now.
What's that?
There's one that's live right now.
Okay. Oh, I accidentally made it private.
Yes, JB, talking to your mic.
Woohoo!
This stream isn't. You guys are currently streaming live, and it's not private. It's public.
Yeah, I can see it.
Yeah. What does it say? Comments are not allowed on.
And I can hear both of your mics. I haven't determined how well yet, but I can hear both of you.
I think that was good. Yeah, with that, I would just use that stream.
Hey, Dane. Hey.
Morning chocolate guy called me. Wanted to talk to you about like the ropes at the regional event or something.
Yeah, tell him I'm live on YouTube right now. And you're literally on the live stream here. We're trying to get it to work. Yeah, we'll text him and tell him that we're live on YouTube and he can do the interview through the live chat. Will you just text him? Alright, cool. Thanks. See you in a bit. That was Dane, and he said the guy from the Morning Chalk Up contacted him and said they wanted to do an interview about the rope thing. And I said I'm live on YouTube. Maybe.
What happened here?
I don't know. I didn't do that, but
Now-
look, there it is. It's green now.
You got muted, so everybody talking to your mics again.
Okay. What got muted? So we know for future reference. Oh, right there.
So we know for future reference.
It's funny because I saw that red, but I was like, maybe I got it.
Clicked, but if you just click it again,
All right.
now we're good.
Sweet. And we're live right now, right?
Yep.
All right. Sweet. And we're live right now, right? All right. I guess we just.
I can
rock
hear
with it
you.
for- F it. Yeah, we'll just go
All right.
for it.
Turn it up just a touch.
Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah, that's great. Yeah. Sorry. Yep. Here we go.
Comments say sound is on now, so thanks, guys.
All right.
All right, this took us only.
An hour and 10 since we
You've
called
been
Vito.
here for an hour and 10.
Yeah.
It took me another hour before that. So.
Thanks, Vito. I'm going to hang up.
Thanks, Vito.
Alright, have fun.
All right.
That's okay. Hopefully that doesn't get picked up. Okay, so we're live. Where were we? We were talking about.
I was just talking about a good F-bomb in the video and Hiller's video commenting on Scott last night, which I had known about beforehand because I was texting you during the competition and I said, how did you like that event? Because both of those things you're good at, running, legless rope climbs. However, that didn't seem like what was going to be rewarded was being good at running or being good at
It was
legless
really-
rope climbs.
Really interesting. I was watching I saw the video afterwards, and they give you the points or the keys to good performance or whatever when they do the live stream.
Yeah.
And the key was fast descent.
Correct.
And I'm like, whoa. You're gonna write a workout and you're gonna test the descent of a rope climb. That's the key to the workout.
Correct. I saw the same thing.
All right.
Was thinking the same thing.
Something's off there. That shouldn't be what. That's so obvious. It's
Right. Do you have?
kind of silly.
Yeah.
I mean, I could throw in some expletives there, but that's not my style.
Yeah. That is.
What's going on?
So. Yep. Is that mine? That's mine. There we go.
It wasn't up loud enough.
No.
Okay.
And yeah, that's you. All right, here we go. Yep.
You turn mine down. So there you go.
Oh,
How
we
high do you
switched
want?
back?
Yeah.
Oh, turn me down. Yeah, that's great right there. Excellent.
Okay. Is this too loud?
No, not for me. I think you're good.
All right. So if we're talking about where do you want to start? Let's talk about the rope climb event. If you guys have comments, leave them in the chat. We'll try to answer comments as they come through. Is Vito saying something?
Not anymore. It's good to go.
Good to go. All right.
Yeah.
Vito, thanks for all the help.
Seriously.
We called him JV's friend up in Richmond, and he just helped us for an hour and got this thing set up. So that was pretty cool.
Yeah, remote access onto the Mac.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, he's the GOAT, man. I lived with him in college, or right after college, actually, when I moved to Chesapeake to do ministry. And it was a blast. Turned out to be one of my closest friends when he lived here. Plenty of Vito stories. Even his name is not Vito. It's a nickname from a nickname from a nickname that ended at Vito. So anyway, shout out to Vito.
Cool. Yeah, thanks, bro. Yeah, let's start with the rope climb workout from the weekend.
Yep.
All right. We had an athlete brief at 7:30 in the morning. They told us that we didn't start until like 12 or 1 in the afternoon. And so we're like, I don't want to get up at
Bro, you had to
6:30,
be there at-
6:45 and have to
Yeah.
show up for the athlete brief at 7:30. And they said if you don't show up, you refuse your right to protest.
Okay.
The right to protest in a CrossFit competition doesn't mean anything.
Okay.
You're never gonna get like if you appeal something, don't appeal it. Like there's no point.
Right.
It's your fault, and
Yeah.
it's always gonna be your fault, and
Right.
they're not gonna change anything. I had my bike stolen in like 2011 or whatever. Literally, we all had bikes with name tags on them, and I had my bike stolen, and I got out of the water, out of the swim, looking for my bike. And stood there looking for my bike and, was talking to Dave in the meantime for like 2 or 3 minutes, and I tried to appeal that or whatever that means. It's like, no, we're not going to do anything about it. I'm like, all right, cool, thanks.
Dang.
And it's happened subsequent years. Something happens every now and then. But anyways, I didn't go to the athlete brief on Sunday because once I learned all you do is don't get your right to protest, then
Right.
it wasn't worth it. So well, yeah, Noelle and Claire had to go on the plane in the morning, so like helping them get packed up and stuff. But anyways, we had the athlete brief at 7:30, and they were showing us the rope climbs and showing us where we're going to run for the event. The event was 10 rounds of one legless rope climb and 170-foot run, and it was super fast. Like, 3 minutes. The guys were going under 3 minutes.
Yeah, they were going fast.
And we look at the rope, and the rope is... One of the lanes in the middle, the rope was cut a little bit shorter, but the other ropes were all like had a foot and a half of rope on the ground. And if you've ever been to a gym or if you've ever climbed ropes for multiple reps, like the rope hanging on the ground is you can very easily land on it and roll your ankle, or in Scott's case pop his knee, whatever he did to his knee. So Scott and I both went up to the event organizer, and we went up to a couple other people who we thought were like, hey, if we bring this up to whoever it was that was in charge, or maybe in charge of a certain group, there's obviously different tiers of leadership inside each one of the groups, right?
Right.
So we brought it up to 3 different people, in the hopes that maybe it would get down to someone who was in charge that could make that decision. And we kind of got the runaround 3 times. So mostly it was just, hey, not anything we can do about it right now. And we're like, okay, someone's gonna twist their ankle. Like, it's really clear. Like, half of what I do in the gym sometimes as a coach is just being like lifeguard, especially if classes are really big. It's just like you got to manage what's going on, because there's barbells, there's people doing burpees at the same time that there's someone doing shoulder overhead or something next to them. I don't know, and you got to manage that and make sure that barbells aren't falling on people and people are walking by, whatever. You have to just watch for things. And one of the things is like, hey, take it easy on the way down the rope. You're either going to burn your hands or you're going to fall and roll your ankle, and like nobody wants to break their ankle. So it's like that's the first thing you would notice as if you're in charge of an event and you're the safety manager. Or
do you think they had the ability to cut the ropes?
Me and you could have done it in 30 minutes. Andrew Hiller, I think, on his video cut a rope in his video in like a minute and a half with a pair of scissors.
Right.
It's very easy. I don't know. I don't really know what happened other than they just didn't want to do it.
Like,
and it's really disappointing because that's just another example of how it seems like they're not really taking into account the things that needed to be taken into account.
all right. So a reason why they didn't cut the ropes is some type of we are rule followers and HQ sent us these ropes and we're not switching anything.
There was a response. Scott told me that there was a response about, their Rogue's ropes, so we had to find a person from Rogue
to ask for permission to cut them, or they may have to pay for the rope.
the rope or something like that.
How much is a rope?
$100, $125, something like that.
Man.
It doesn't matter. The price of it doesn't matter. Like, it's not worth. That's something that if I'm running that event and I see that, I'm like, all right, well, we should probably. And in an event like this, it's different now. If you have, legless rope climbs in a workout that isn't like absolutely max speed, but this event specifically was why I had a problem. Why Scott and I both had an issue with it. If it would have been 10 rounds of a legless rope climb, some toes to bar and some kettlebell snatches or something, where it was 10 rounds, it wouldn't have mattered. You know,
Right.
like that wouldn't have been a big deal that there was a little extra rope on the ground, because people probably wouldn't be falling from the top, you know, trying to make every second count.
Right.
But like, I'll give you an example. For me, I didn't drop from the top. I touched the top, slid down, like grabbed my legs with the rope like I usually do, and slid down halfway, caught myself, stopped my momentum, and then dropped. And it was still a lot on, you know, my knees or whatever. My knees were
Right.
wrecked after that event more than any other event,
Right.
which is weird. But just from the jumping and landing, because when you're landing, you're dropping from, you know, 10 feet each time. And if you're dropping from the top, you're dropping from 15 feet. Like, that's a long way. So I was not going to be stupid with it. I didn't want to fall on the rope, and it wasn't worth 5 extra spots for me personally.
Right.
So I didn't drop from the top. But even if you don't drop from the top, if you drop from halfway 10 feet coming down, like, you're still risking landing on that rope. Like, people do it all the time in the gym.
I mean, that's how
I've
do
done it all the time
I
in
mean,
the
that's
gym.
how I do it.
Yeah.
Like, I drop.
Yeah, and it happens, and you got to be aware of where the rope is. So it's like, there's arguments on both sides. I get the argument where you would say, you know, it is what it is. Everybody's in the same boat. You're taking that risk, you know, and people are comparing it to like the weather outside, and comparing it to like somebody getting sick in the water on the swim. And I'm like, these aren't the same things. Like,
They're
those
not
are,
the same.
Or like the crit race. Where were you guys during the crit racing that one year? That was more dangerous. And I'm like, okay, that's just inherent risk that exists within the competition.
Correct.
This is something different. This is
Right.
very easy to point out. It's very easy to say, hey, this shouldn't be done, or this, let's adjust this. It's not even like we're trying to change it. We're just trying to adjust the ropes.
Right.
You know, but yeah, it's too common sense to even. It makes me angry. It made me really angry. Scott was really angry. I was really angry.
Yeah, I'm really
Like-
sad for him. He looked great. Like, looked
Yeah.
like he was going to do well. Looked like he was going to qualify.
Yeah.
Like, looked like he was ready to go.
Right.
And at that point, I didn't see what. Well, he finished the event, which
Yeah, I don't even know how he finished the event. I saw him the next day, and his knee was swollen and stuck, and he couldn't bend it. He couldn't do
So-
anything. I mean, he could barely walk
Yeah.
down the Coliseum.
right.
It's
So
like,
I only found out after he didn't do the fourth event. Obviously, with the rest of them, I text you. I'm like, hey, what's happened? You sort of break down what you just explained in 4 seconds on the text, and I was just heartbroken for him. Like, actually heartbroken.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense. And my response right now with just what would be the reason is for me, it only makes sense if they're going to say we were following a protocol, it wasn't our rope, we couldn't cut it. Well, at that point, you're running a multi-$1,000 event. If you need to cut the ropes, you need to cut the ropes. Like, how many? It's 10 ropes.
yes.
$1,000. $1,000. That was it.
It's
Like-
not even that. They're going to be using them the next weekend for the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit
Man,
Challenge.
You could almost say it was,
And
right.
they said to Scott, they were trying to make it up to him by saying, oh, we're going to cut the ropes for next weekend. That's unbelievable to me. Completely unbelievable.
Right.
That's like, hey, it's about to rain. You should roll your windows up in your truck. No, it's not going to rain. I'm good. No, you should 3 times.
Right.
And then it rains, and then you start complaining about
Right.
how your truck's soaked and your radio's broken. And no, it's okay. I'm going to roll them up tomorrow.
Yeah, and we'll let everybody else know.
And we'll tell everybody that
Right. We'll make.
we'll
sure
say
next
what
time.
there was someone that was supposed to be in charge. This person that we've never heard of before, that we weren't introduced to on the day one of competition, is supposed to be the one that's in charge of this. Okay.
And that's the CrossFit competition liaison.
Yeah, don't know who that is.
Didn't
We
they-
were not
they-
introduced to them. I think we were introduced to them
Wait.
on Sunday morning. I
Wait.
didn't go to that athlete brief, so I don't know.
What? You did. This wasn't like a day one introduction.
No. So, but for CrossFit to say it's anybody's fault but theirs, it's absolutely ridiculous.
Man, that's Scott. I'm so sorry.
Yeah. It shouldn't take someone like Scott going through that to get the attention of whoever's in charge of the competitions to make a good judgment call. Like, it
Right.
really just shouldn't take that. You have a lot of people. I think you have a lot of athletes that would be willing to give their input, willing to give their feedback, willing to help. We're
Yeah.
sitting here talking about this
Right.
right now. It's like, hey,
Right.
a lot of athletes feel this way.
Right.
You should it'd be wise to listen. It'd be wise to form some sort of group that can help. I don't know.
And it seemed like you were saying a little bit that the rest of the competitors that weekend agreed with your take on the event.
Yeah, I got a handful of people, a good number of people that came up and said, thanks for, doing the podcast. I listened to the podcast. It was great. I agree. Something needs to be said kind of thing. So, yeah, I guess I'm glad we did it, but I wanted to follow up on this one and kind of what we could talk about. I don't know if you want to talk about the specific events from this competition, because the competition this past weekend went how I thought it was going to go for me. So
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I saw the events. I didn't even want to go compete.
Right.
Like that was I think I told you that.
You did tell me that, and it like is a it's tough. It's because I enjoy watching you compete as much as I have over the course of the last 10 years, and knowing what this competition was going to be for you. I was still excited to watch. I was still excited for
And I
was still excited.
And I wasn't unexcited to compete.
Right.
It was weird. It was really weird. It was like, I know how this is going to go already.
Yeah.
As soon as the workouts were announced, I saw them and I'm like, okay. For some reason, they did it again. They programmed workouts that literally just are not strong suits of mine.
Right.
Everybody has those workouts.
Right. Which there's a little bit of this too, where I've been wanting to ask you, where it's like, okay, the only strong suit thing that I feel like is coming out is I don't feel like you're anti-machine.
Mm-mm. No, we train on them a lot, and I train on them a lot because they're my weakness.
Right.
But it's like you can, in the past when they've programmed workouts that have had machines in them, just go back and look at 2014, 2015, and 2016 regionals.
Yep.
Look at the machines in the events and judge how those events are programmed versus how the events this year and the previous year were programmed.
Right.
The machines in those events it was like a 500-meter row in the middle of a chipper that had heavy overhead squats, box jumps, burpees, all this other stuff, right? So it was thrown in as something to jack your heart rate up and to make sure that you can move efficiently enough through that so that you don't, or get your heart rate up enough moving into the next skill following that machine.
Right.
It wasn't all about the machine.
Mm-hmm.
Like we had a 2K row, 2K on the rower on one event. We had 150 calories on the ski erg on another event. And we had the 30 cal echo bike and the sled push. It's not a sled, it was a machine.
Mm-hmm.
So two machines in that one workout.
Mm-hmm.
And all three of those were dependent on the machine.
Right.
Like you had to be able to push the pace on those. And generally speaking, if you're good on one, you're probably good on all of them.
Right.
And it's like, that's always kind of been a weakness of mine. It's something that I've always worked on all the time. But if I really want to be good at
But
those,
you've been a good rower though. So like you go to the games events, you go to the half marathon, like the rower is different. And I feel like
slightly different, not so much. Like the 2K row, I didn't do that well on. I got like mid 20s,
Right.
28th, 29th,
Right.
something like that.
But that was baiting you. But to your point, the person that won, didn't Jason win both?
Yeah, Jason won both.
Right.
Big dude, long arms.
Right. Monster.
Yeah, big capacity. But you're missing that was one test out of 15 tests.
True.
And they didn't row again. Or maybe they rowed again in the 2007 reloaded workout, but it started with a 1K row and that was irrelevant in the course of the workout. So it wasn't dependent on the machine, which these events this past weekend, again, like they were last year, were dependent on the machine. Go look at the CrossFit events that just came out for the Masters and age groups. I think they just came out yesterday,
they did.
Monday.
Yeah.
Yeah, again, it is a different sport compared to the test we did last weekend. the events for this age group qualifier masters,
Yep.
they're great compared to the tests that we had to do this past weekend. So, and I don't want any of this to come across as me like I'm trying to complain or I'm upset with how I did or whatever, you know,
Right.
like
I
I
mean-
didn't qualify for the games. Yeah, right. But that's not what this is about. And, you know, and I wanted to make sure that we
Right.
talked about this because
I
I
didn't
think it
get my
needs
fair
discussed.
shot and blah blah blah.
That's not at all
Right.
what I'm
It's not
saying.
the
I
case.
get that the test changes. I get that there's variance and all of the things in on tests that you're going to have in CrossFit.
Right. But it doesn't seem like the same pattern. Like, how would you say that if the test changes, like if it's evolving, why have you seem to have evolved with it over the years?
Yes.
You seem to have your finger on the pulse of the test over the years, and then all of a sudden,
It's changed for sure. And this is the hard part. This is what I want to talk about.
okay,
So when in the past there has been specific, let's say, tests that you would use, movements that you would use, combinations of movements that you would test together, that sort of became benchmarks in a way.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like there needs to be variance inside of these workouts, but too much variance, it's like it doesn't. It's like, how can we make it more constantly varied? Well, let's make it all the same. And you're like, whoa, that's not, you're flipping what it's supposed to be on its head. It's what's happening today. You know, like
Right.
same thing's happening today in a lot of different places. But there needs to be variance, and there's enough variance in the CrossFit movements that you don't need to try to get cute and fancy with things.
correct.
You don't need to do, what is it? What did they just came out with the Granite Games? Double reverse upside down Fran or something like that. It's like, you don't need to do that. People that are programming events, don't try to get cute with all this stuff. Just program a good event.
Right.
Just program a really well-run event, like a really structurally, like foundational, consistently varied, but stable, traditional, normal CrossFit event.
Right.
And you'll get a great competition. And
Right.
this is what CrossFit needs to get. CrossFit needs to get back to the staple combinations of movements that the couplets, the singlets, the couplets, the triplets that they used to do, the occasional chipper sprinkled in.
Right.
That exceeded the capacity of the best athletes on the planet
Right.
in every event in some way.
Yep.
I'll give you an example. The age group workouts, one of the ones that they did was 8 rounds of one legless rope climb. And then I think you did 6 farmer's carries with 32 kilo kettlebells, 70 pound kettlebells. And then you did 15 box jumps, and it was 8 rounds for time. These are so easy to judge, right?
Right.
For example, they're so easy to judge. It's a great test because who pairs legless rope climbs and farmer's carries together? You might do it in training, but the person that does it the most in training that can kind of see something like that coming, that's kind of like a little crazy and they want to really push themselves and how they want to test their capacity in the legless rope climb, they might challenge themselves by putting a farmer's carry with a
That's so
legless rope
nasty.
climb. But yeah, that's nasty,
That's
right? Like,
nasty.
but you can do it in preparation for a test that specifically tests my ability to climb the rope under fatigue. Like, where was that this year? The test was supposed to be how fast can you go down the rope?
Right.
Seriously? Really?
Right. So can you drop from the top?
Can you drop from the top and handle the fall? Like,
Right.
and then get up and run really quickly? It just, it blows my mind because it just didn't test anything it didn't test anything other than how good of a show you can put on.
Right. And why was Dave thinking about that as a test in 2014 or 2013?
Well,
whichever one was?
it crushed the girls.
It dominates. Yeah.
It crushed them.
What? Still this year?
Well, some
Or that
handful
year? I mean,
handful of people didn't finish.
I
You
mean,
know?
I remember watching and being like, "Why can you not do legless rope climbs? This is crazy. You've had 8 years. Like, you know that
That's an example of
you've known
something.
for 8 years that you should be good at this.
You should be able to perform the certain skills at the games level.
Yes.
The regional level of competition should challenge you on those skills in ways that you haven't been tested in training.
Right.
Or maybe like you only have done it once, or maybe you've tried something like it.
Right.
But it should produce something. It should be a variation of consistent skill, like a legless rope climb, but under a duress or like a stress that you haven't faced before. Does that make sense? Like, the regional competition should be something that really pushes the athletes outside of their boundaries, and it always has been up to the past couple years.
Right.
And that's the direction that I see it going, that I don't like. And I think they should. I think CrossFit needs to program every regional event or semifinal event, and they all need to be the same across the board, or their sport's change. Their sport's going to be something different that they won't recognize in 5 years.
Right. I don't. Well, is that possible?
That it could be something different.
Yeah. Like, let's talk about that for 5 minutes. Like, should it, does it evolve or something? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like it is right now, does it not? It seems like things are changing, but I don't know. The events that CrossFit has put out for this year, the age groups, they look great.
Yeah.
I mean, man, they're great. They're different. They're interesting. They're simple.
Mm-hmm.
They're beautiful. They're elegant. They're all of these things. They're effective, challenging. They're going to be fun to watch. Like, they're going to be fun to see what people can lift 5 minutes after doing 400 wall balls or something ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's like, who does that?
Right.
Like, nobody does
Dude,
that.
that wall ball workout.
And it's the last one too, for that reason, right?
Oh my goodness, dude. I know we're going to have to do this at some point, and I don't want to. Like, because I like wall balls.
Yeah.
But I also know what that would cost me the next 5 days.
Yeah. Right.
Like, full blown. Like,
Right.
I know what this costs, and do I want to pay the price?
Yeah, but someone said they could be on the grid league path if they don't get a handle on things.
You'd assume that's the 5 years out.
The grid league stuff.
Yeah.
I hope not. I don't think so. I think there's athletes that care enough that really can help. Okay, whoever programmed the events this past weekend, let them program the semifinals. Why do we need to have other people outside of CrossFit HQ program them?
Wait a second. Wait, what?
Like the Masters events.
Oh, okay.
That were all good tests.
Yes.
Right? And
Yeah,
pretty varied.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. It's pretty varied. And let me just go through them. Let me walk through them.
Right.
What the leg rope climb one is one of them, right? You're testing the gymnastics under fatigue.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. What was the other one? It was there's a GHD handstand walk bar muscle up workout.
Mm-hmm.
Gymnastics under fatigue, but there's a way that you can really separate yourself from the field by having 4 or 5 minutes on bar muscle ups if you're efficient at your handstand walking after you do GHD sit-ups. It's like, this is just consistent staple. CrossFit has done this for years.
Right.
GHD, handstand walk, something overhead. Like Midline Madness.
Yeah.
Midline Madness 2.
Yes.
The handstand walk, all the handstand walk tests that they do after GHD sit-ups, that kind of thing. The med ball throw GHD stuff that they did. Like, you can watch the sport over the years, watch what Dave has programmed, and you can see in a sense where it's going, and you kind of have to predict your best. You have to give your best guess at what you think's coming, and you have to push yourself in that realm and then kind of hope that those things get tested. Because if all I did was bike, row, and ski and hope that those things get tested, I'm only going to do good on maybe one event.
Right.
But I'm going to have huge holes in all my lifting. Because in these Masters qualifiers, for example, there's a 1 rep max clean jerk at the end, under fatigue.
Right.
And there's
Like extreme fatigue.
Yeah, and then there's a snatch ladder that goes 10 reps, and then 10 reps heavier, and then 10 reps heavier, and then max reps with time remaining.
It's beautiful.
Snatch,
programmed.
clean and jerk. Both at high reps and under stress that normal Olympic weightlifters would never see.
Right.
That you probably don't normally train under.
Right.
Something that's different.
And that's what's beautiful.
And that's what's beautiful
that's OG.
about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's OG,
And then there's
that's beautiful.
a
That's
very
what's
simple movement, wall ball.
Yeah.
Ton of reps, high volume that you don't go to. Let's see what your capacity is like in a test that's slightly different, right? There's a little bit of a twist to it, but it's not too fancy, like it's not too complicated. They don't overly complicate it. They're not using a 50-pound wall ball, it's like
Right.
it doesn't need to be that.
No.
I'm missing one event. I can't remember what it was. Morning Chalk Up says, was Boz at day 2 briefing when the questions were asked? I didn't see. He was probably walking around. I saw Boz at the event, and I saw Justin Berg at the event. So they were both at the event.
Yeah, I saw them both on the screen.
They were both there. And Scott and I didn't get to grab them specifically because we were looking for them, but we could not find them at the time that we were going to ask the question, or that we did ask the question. So we asked whoever we saw, which was the director, one of the directors of the competition, and then someone who was head of judging, and then someone, someone, I forget who else we talked to, but
Yeah, sort of the managerial positions of the places that you're at.
yeah, we walked through the place, we walked around the venue looking for people, and we ran into those people, and that was who we talked to. And we were shut down 3 times, so we figured that was it. We're going to be regular athletes, stop worrying about it, stop complaining, and go do the event.
Right.
Because there's only kind of so much complaining that you are allowed to do as an athlete without it getting in your headspace and ruining your day or whatever.
Right.
So.
Which has also been a little bit of like you would assume that the coach's role, right? Every athlete gets to bring a coach, which gets to be your advocate, but not really.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that seems like that would be the place for the
coach could kind of like carry that burden for you.
potentially.
Yeah, potentially for sure.
But even that seemed to be, that gets nixed at the games, doesn't it? Doesn't it have to be the athlete that brings up?
So the athlete has to be the one who, if you're gonna protest a score or something like that, if you want to, I don't remember what you call it.
Right.
But if you're gonna protest it, then it has to be the athlete. It can't be the coach.
Right. Which
I'm not sure of the reasoning for that. I
don't know.
can't think of it right now. But
even that's just a little strange. It's like, to me, I guess.
That is a little strange because you want, as there's so many things going on during the weekend, and it's so busy, and like we didn't even have heat times for these events like until or an hour and a half before we're gonna go. Like,
yeah,
we're trying to figure things out last minute. There's a lot of things going. There's a lot of moving parts. So
right.
like having a coach there to help.
I put on events, right? I run there's like a joke at the gym that I leave for the summer and do a bunch of PEDs and come back and lift heavy. No, I go away to Young Life Camp and I run a Young Life Camp for 30 days out of the month.
Right.
The specific position that I've had at Young Life Camp is I legitimately plan every second of the day from when kids wake up till they go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
Every second,
mm-hmm.
right? Those moving pieces, those moving parts, we plan for months and months, and then we sit down and we talk about it.
Yeah.
Every day. One night we go through the whole thing, front to back. We decide what needs to happen, what needs to be changed. We revisit it, and then not only that, we revisit it every week.
Mm-hmm.
So we do the whole week, then we come back, sit down again, and say, "Hey, we need to make that week better. Could be better."
Mm-hmm.
And then we readjust its
there's probably a ton of work that goes into that, but you guys also you guys are clearly making adjustments as you need to, and if something comes up that's reasonable, you guys would be able to have a means of communicating with each other,
right?
Or someone is there that can make the change that is necessary and make it happen,
right?
Yeah.
That's the whole point.
Yep.
Like, you need to, like, you plan, and then you go for it, and then you revisit it, and then you execute again. But my point to that was, even if we got it wrong, we could still tell you what's coming. We give out schedules. Like, we had the schedule written.
The schedule.
In advance.
Okay, the schedule was there. It said men's heats, women's heats, teams heats.
Uh-huh.
And it was like they gave the general time of when you're going, but the heats changed throughout the weekend.
Right.
And we weren't quite sure on when they were going to line us up because they line us up 20 minutes before. Like, they call you to the corral 20 minutes before, and you sit there and you wait, or 15 to 20 minutes before, whatever it is. And you sit there and you wait before you go on the floor, that kind of thing.
Woof.
So it would have been nice to have a heat schedule online or whatever. We were just told to go online and look at the heats, but I couldn't find them. I didn't find them. I'm not that technically illiterate. Maybe it is when it comes to podcasting, sound and stuff like that, but I can find a schedule online and couldn't find schedules. So I had to go to the underneath where the athlete area is and ask them there, and they were still changing it last day, because that's the way it works. But little things like that.
So
there's a lot. What I'm saying is there's a lot going on at these competitions, but the reason why people would be there is to make changes and adjust on the fly as needed.
yes,
And they were both there.
right.
They were both there.
You're there.
I mean, it's and yeah. I don't know what else to say about it.
We could switch gears a little bit. I did want to ask the so it's sort of like this like weird like I'm watching, but I'm not watching through the lens of like the last hoorah. I'm watching through the lens of Ben told me how this event's going to go, and it's not going to end with him having the most regional event wins in history, or tied for.
Mm-hmm.
This is going to be exactly what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I believe that I honestly, truly believe that I prepared for a good CrossFit test. I was fit, and I'm ready to compete in a good CrossFit test. I don't think we got a good CrossFit test, and that's not me trying to say anything like that's not me trying to make excuses or anything like that. Right. I get it. It is what it is. The chips fell out where they did.
Yeah.
Fine. I did what I could. I'm okay with not going to the games this year.
Yeah.
That's fine.
Right.
I would have loved to have made it. I didn't expect to make it. That's why I didn't want to go.
Right.
And, that's a weird mindset. I've never been in that mindset before. It's always like I've been going to win.
Yeah.
And I just didn't believe I was capable of it. I don't know if that's my fault or that's probably my fault, but I did feel like I was prepared for a good test. I really, truly did. I just don't, it's like we just didn't quite get the test that I had been preparing for, and that's a risk that you take as an athlete. Like, you train for what you think's coming. You can't train for how do you train for everything,
Right.
You can't. You kind of train for a certain number of things, and then you hope that fitness carries over better than everybody else on the field.
Yeah. The last 3 events, you went 8, 9, 10.
Definitely better than the first 3.
That 8th wasn't even the event that you thought you were going to do best on, which one was it? The chipper? Yeah.
10, 20, 30, 40, 50. Yeah, that was my favorite programmed event of the weekend. I was like, this is more traditional CrossFit. Like, This is more classic CrossFit. But it was weird because it was just the machine again. It was a skier, calories 10 through 50, and everybody kind of went at the same pace, except for people in the first 2 rounds, right? People like sprinted on the first 2 rounds, but then they blew up on the back half of the workout, right. And there wasn't enough workout to like catch people. Give me a round of 60. I'd have gone faster. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
Like the GHDs really caught up to people. The handstand walk caught up to people, which it shouldn't have. The GHDs were easy. The handstand walks were easy. Right. Like if you shouldn't be breaking up those handstand walks.
Right.
Like you need to be better at handstand walks. If you're like those handstand walks, they were not challenging. I've been to the games where they've tested my handstand walk ability, and I thought my elbows were going to turn inside out. Like it's weird. Like how like I've never been this under this. I've never been this stressed doing handstand walks. In this event, the handstand walks were the rest, and it was like, how quickly can I get through it and back to the next thing?
This was a no, it wasn't handstand walking at the end of that games. It was the first year that you got 3rd, and I think the test ended with a
it ended with a handstand walk, but we hadn't really.
Was it a handstand walk or was
but it wasn't that long. I mean, nowadays, relatively speaking, it wasn't that long. But back then, that was a pretty good handstand walk. I think like my max distance handstand walk that I could walk at the time was something like 30 or 40 yards.
Yeah. And
it was something close to that, like 20 or 30 yards or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was like I came down once or twice, and
And then that sort of the handstand walk sort of evolved into that really a heavy overhead walking lunge.
They've ended on that before too with the axle bar.
Yeah.
They did heavy overhead lunges. Yeah. But just
Which
a different. It is, and especially after something like muscle ups and deficit handstand push-ups for multiple rounds.
It's so brutal. It's genius. It's diabolically genius.
Like, yeah, and I remember you said that. It's like the workouts are like diabolically genius, and that's when you know they're good regionals tests.
Yes, dude.
Like the open workouts, fine. Get your general fitness out of the way. Like get the people that can run the 4 and 5 minute miles to the next stage, and then crush them with the actual CrossFit skills.
Right.
Because you might be able to run a 4-minute mile, but I guarantee you're not going to deadlift 500 pounds.
Right.
I guarantee you're not going to be able to do, a squat clean ladder ending at 315.
I was actually thinking about that recently.
Which isn't that heavy. Like people lifted that at the regional for 5 reps
Yep.
And then jerked it overhead.
Yep.
Crazy. Yeah.
Yep. The like the ladders that sort of showed up, like I think when was the first regional barbell ladder?
First one I remember was this double under snatch one. There was a double under snatch one where it went up by 10 pounds and you had to do like 25 or 30 double unders before you do your lift. And you just moved on from barbell to barbell until you couldn't hit the lift.
Why have the double unders in there?
Because you're not used to lifting like that after
Not
you
used
do
to
something,
jumping
getting your
30
heart rate
times,
up
right.
30 times and then going and doing a lift. It's
Yeah.
just it's just that, but it was just enough variation that the athletes hadn't really seen it before. You know, like maybe they've done it once or twice here or there, but not like that.
Right.
You know, and it's like it doesn't need to be super crazy out there. The workout doesn't need to be like some imaginative thing. Like it can just be a small change that really throws people off. But yeah, there's a handful of things like that. But back to one of the things that I was saying was, I think that there needs to be standard movements that you test, like clean and jerk, snatch, or clean, or squat, or thruster, or rowing, or muscle up, handstand walk,
push-up.
or handstand push-up. It doesn't even have to be a handstand walk. Handstand push-up. It can be a really short handstand walk, but it's after something really, really difficult. You know, like it really doesn't need to be a test of handstand walking ability. You know, but they like it. They do it.
The handstand walk has actually made its way from regionals to the open because it's so commonplace.
That's interesting. Yeah, it did. That one moved up.
It moved up to
That's
like,
interesting.
hey, everybody's doing this.
But
now.
when you take a skill like that and you move it up to the open,
yeah,
the people at the gym, you better get good at it.
you're right.
You know, and it's like, and yeah, and there should be staples that
All right, here you go.
to perform. And then when he took stuff like that and he put it in, you know, the open, then everybody in the gym needed to do it. Then you need to program it for your athletes at the gym.
Right.
You need to teach your athletes that you can get upside down on your hands. Let's try it.
Dude.
Why not? You know, it's
All right,
like,
so they did that. They repeated that stupid. I think they repeated that deadlift workout. The Diane.
the deadlift box jump.
No, it was an open workout. It ended with the 315, 2159, 315 handstand walk.
Oh,
one.
yeah.
I mean, I remember practicing all year, and I'm pretty sure that we did that twice in the. I think we've done that twice in the open. I could be wrong.
Yes, we have.
All right.
We repeated that.
I remember after the first one, I didn't get any handstand walks.
Mm-hmm.
Like smashed the deadlifts
Mm-hmm.
and was like, ready to handstand walk. Couldn't
Yeah,
because of the handstand push-ups in the first round.
but you can
And how fatigued I was.
handstand walk.
Oh, well, that's
But
what
you
I'm gonna
haven't-
say.
yeah.
I spent the whole next year handstand walking, and not only that, you were programming 500 feet of handstand walking in a workout for like regular Joe Schmo gym goers.
I didn't program 500 feet of handstand walk. That's excessive.
That was,
300 feet tops.
bro, there
Tops.
was 6 months.
And why do I
he's
pick-
lying to
no,
all of
and
you
why
right
do I
now.
pick-
I'll prove it. We'll go back on the website. There was like 6 months, dude. You were programming 500 feet. I remember it vividly being like, this is crazy. And then it went back down to 300. But even wait, I went through the whole year, got back to the workout, still couldn't do it. What? Dude, it just was like, it smashed. It was diabolical.
It's a different test. Yeah.
It was legitimately my lungs. It was, or maybe just because I'm not very good at this, like, to be honest. But
Yeah.
like just going upside down at that moment was ridiculous. It was absurd. But that's the point.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like I remember getting done and be like, damn, yeah, it is what it is. But that's what it was. And that was a little bit of what I was trying to say with like the dumbbells being heavier and that stupid bike dumbbell workout where it's like, that didn't seem diabolical. Like, and even, I don't know.
No, there
like,
was no. So here, I think on the Swan podcast, they made a good point. There was no way that you could pass somebody on the sled push, or the torque tank push. Like you couldn't. You would have to put the amount of energy you'd have to put out just to pass someone would crush you for the whole rest of the workout. And it's like normally there aren't implements like that in anything in CrossFit. Like that's very odd for that to be the case.
Right.
That's why I think that's a silly event. And it's not on the torque tank. Like the torque tank, my dad and I talked about this. The torque tanks, that's a cool training tool.
Right.
Like I'm not against the company or the people at the company or whatever.
Right.
Like I'm just like the way that you put that in the event, it didn't showcase it. It didn't showcase the machine,
Mm-hmm.
and it didn't showcase your ability to program. You know, like just didn't, and it didn't put on a good test.
Right.
You know, so it was like that was my issue with that. But
Right.
Yeah, making the dumbbells heavier probably, honestly, wouldn't make that workout any better or worse.
Right.
Like,
And
you
I think that's what they said. I went back and listened to it. And I was like, oh yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah,
Like, I
but,
hear you on
but
that.
that's because you're trying to change the workout and keeping the boundaries that they've set.
Right.
And the problem isn't the changing the workout. The problem is it was just the test wasn't as balanced as it could be. I'd like to, and I don't want to be just one that points a finger and says
Right.
these are wrong. Like, I
sure.
want to sit down and I want to sit down and write down what I think a good regional would be and put out the events and be like, hey, this is, if I was programming sanction or semifinals, this is what it'd be.
Right.
But I also don't need to do that. Go look at any year before 2016.
Yeah.
Just go look at the regionals events and you're going to see how I would program it.
Right.
Just like that. Because it's progressed slowly over the years. There's been consistent benchmarks as to what you have to test. And those benchmarks have slightly gotten harder each year. And there was a progress to it. There was a story to it. There was a build-up and everything like that. And we are not seeing that anymore. And I think it's very, very easy to see. I think fewer people want to watch the competitions because of that. I think the athletes recognize it. I honestly think that you get different people to the games based off of what events you program. I really do. Sure, you might get the same 2 or 3. But, I mean, if you're taking 5, those last 2 spots matter, you know.
Right.
The year I won the games, I finished 4th at the regional.
Yeah. I remember. And
That's odd.
You had that huge comeback.
No, that wasn't that year. That was a couple years later.
For real?
Mm-hmm.
It was just a regular.
It was just another
regular
year.
Fourth. Didn't Alec
Yeah.
get second or something?
Yeah.
He smashed that year.
Yeah. For sure. But, yeah, and then, you know, I was thinking maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just the way that, maybe it's my skill set that made me, like, maybe I'm just not good at these specific skills, and I just like these other things. You know, and I thought about that. I'm like, oh, no, I train the way that I try to, like, look at it and see what I perceive to be coming.
Right.
And then I train for that.
Right.
It's like studying for a test. And then you get on the test, you're studying for, you know, mathematics, you're studying for calculus, let's say. And then you get there and it's like a life science test. And you're like, uh-oh, I'm not prepared for this. I don't really want to go take that test now that I know what's coming. It just seemed like a different sport. Seemed like something different. So, yeah.
All right. For brevity's sake,
Yeah, sorry. We're kind of...
the guys that made it. What do you say about that? I mean, Medeiros won last year and he won the region,
they were
so
solid. Competition this year was solid.
He was ready.
Yeah.
Why is he ready and you're not?
Yeah,
You know, like that's a critique.
absolutely.
But does he just? But here's this though. He's learning.
Yeah, he's on that curve. He's riding that curve of what CrossFit is and what's becoming.
Right.
He's
So is Hopper.
and he's with the people that are, let's say, with it right now.
Right.
And I'm from this.
You're from a dying
Old
class, a
generation.
dying breed.
You could make that argument. That'd be fine. I just don't know that that's true. I mean,
Well,
it's
I
true
feel
that I'm
like
from a
you're-
dying breed. Sure, there's very few of us that are actually still
Right.
competing. You know, Scott was one of them, but
I feel like what you're saying,
and he was
is
in the
that
qualifying spot.
That
you
it's
know.
different.
It's
not-
just different.
Yeah. But not different in a good way. Like different in this is not CrossFit.
Correct.
Right. And I think everybody is resonating with that.
I think people see it. I really do.
So do you want to do like the next episode is what regional should have been?
We could do that.
All right.
Or what it could have been, maybe what it was. I don't know, maybe what it was. Like, go look back at the past and what the regionals have been in the past.
Mm-hmm.
Look at the events and then compare them to the last 2 years. And do just 10 minutes of looking at that, and you'll see what I'm talking about.
Right.
I don't know. I don't really have much more to say, but we can answer questions if people have questions on the live chat. Yeah, I don't know if somebody has questions, we can do that. But there was one. Do you think the event was run smoother this year? I thought the event was run smoother in the years past, but It wasn't the worst run competition this year. It was pretty smooth, but there were a few big things that kind of put blemishes on it that made it stand out as, like the rope thing for me. But last year the Mid-Atlantic CrossFit Challenge was one of the best run events. Like, it was really smooth. It was really good. I did remember that. And I want to say, like, all of the people that were there were volunteers, JB. Like, what sport has volunteers like that? Like, the people in the community are great, and thanks to all the people that were there judging and helping and setting up. Like, there's so much work that goes into that. So
all right, so look at Hiller's question, because this is exactly what I'm trying to describe, but I can't find the words for, and there's a little bit of what I just tried to ask.
What was it?
Which is this, because I've seen your fitness the last 8 years, and it seems like you're more fit.
Me personally? What was the question?
Right. So the question is, do you feel like your fitness is similar to the 2014 to 2017 era?
Why do I not see
and that
this
the workouts
question?
played into your placing? All right. So here's the question. I'm gonna say it again.
Okay.
Do you feel like your fitness is similar to the 2014 to 2017 era, and that the workouts played into your placing?
I think I would smash myself from any of those years.
Right.
Right
exactly.
now.
I know that's true. Which,
like, crush myself.
right.
There's no way that I could have done those events this year that I did at that competition 3 years ago. There's no way. I'm not the same athlete. And that's the thing. It's like, I know I've gotten better as we've progressed here through the sport, but I guess I've just focused on different things,
Right.
Like, I did a year where I literally just tried to get better at the machines,
Right.
and my weightlifting suffered.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't like how I didn't feel fit. I didn't feel strong. Like, I didn't feel explosive. It was hard. It was a hard year.
Right.
And I didn't get better at the machine. Like, I got better at the machines just a touch. I still was getting crushed by people. It's just, I don't know.
Yeah. he said you blocked him.
What's that? Ben Smith blocked me. Can't see my question. No, I did not block him.
Well,
Oh, mine's just not live.
do you think something similar to
Oh,
that
I see it
question
now.
is a little bit of the
I can block you now.
that's right. The Sam Briggs winning, and then Camille won.
Oh, Sam Briggs winning and then Camille won. Okay.
Did it go back? There were drastically different athletes.
So different.
And those tests at the game were drastically different. You can tell that they were different
So
because
different.
who won. But the field was still the same, which means semifinals was still the test or regionals was still the test that it needed to be to get the field to where it needed to be. And then the chips fell differently one year to the next year.
Sure.
And I've been thinking a little bit about the Sam Briggs sort of, I don't know. frame.
Sam Briggs is so ridiculously fit, right? She has such a good engine.
Right.
So the places that she's failed in the past have been skill,
Right.
strength, explosive power, let's say, or like a very specific skill set that they test every year, and it's like, and if that knocks her out enough, if the rest of the field is good enough relative to her, then she'll kind of get bumped down.
Right.
But there's events where she just goes out and she's going to smash and know she's going to win.
Right.
So I feel like, me personally, I'm the opposite side of that coin.
Yes.
Like, I'm more of an athlete that's on the other side, where I'm better at the explosive stuff, better at the skill stuff, better at the strength stuff, things like that, better at the let's say, like, the longer CrossFit-y events.
Right.
And then I'll really have to work hard on the short sprints, or like the anaerobic capacity, like
Right.
the Grace or the Isabel or something like that,
All right. Do you think that this is a
or the
adequate
engines,
description?
the engine stuff, the
Right.
bike.
So that
Yeah.
that box jump med ball workout from the 2017 games, 2018 games.
Oh, see, I love that. That was fast enough that
That's a fast workout. That's
yeah.
pedal to the metal. I don't know if that was the name of the event or not, but that's a fast workout. But it ended with brutal 30 20. Oh, it's only 20?
40, 20.
40, 20. But still 20 150-pound med ball cleans
Yeah, but do you know how many
for time.
D-ball cleans I had done that year leading up to that event?
Yeah, a
I mean,
gajillion because I did them with you.
Thousands of them, because
worst.
you know that they're going to come. Because why? Because they popped up 2 years ago and they didn't come last year.
Right.
And you're like, all right, these are coming back. They're going to make a reappearance.
Yeah.
I'm gonna work on these.
Yeah.
Or it's just a really good test of it's a really good test of fitness.
Right.
Because there's some skill involved to it a little bit. You can't just, you can muscle it, but there's some skill involved. You can be more efficient or faster.
Right.
Yeah. What other questions we got?
I wasn't looking. I keep getting distraction.
Yes. Is it typical for CrossFit HQ to not program one part of the season like this? No. They've always programmed all of the portions of the season except for the last few years. We've been kind of in and out of this weird place. So
Yeah. They've been dabbling.
They've been trying. I think they're experimenting or something.
Right.
Trying to hand off the torch to someone else, but they need to do it.
Yeah.
That needs to just say they need to do it. Everybody tell them they need to do it, and
Right, it's
and
just
maybe they'll
obvious.
hear it. It's very obvious that you need to do it. You can't have tests that are different region to region, and then you get different people. Because I really do think that if you take the field from one regional or semifinal and then you put it in another regional, you're gonna get a different group of people. You might get
100%.
3 of the same people, and that was always the argument that
Right.
hey, you're always gonna get the fittest 1 or 2,
Right.
and that's all you really need. And you're like, yeah, that's a lazy argument, but yeah, I get what you're saying. But that's not where we are anymore. You should probably care that you're getting different people.
Right.
And let's get a field that's all kind of similar.
It's necessary.
Yeah.
It's not it's not even an option. And the fact that it is an option at this point is wrong. It's obviously wrong. And it shouldn't have taken more than 1 year. Yeah. 1 year was enough for you to realize that.
Yeah, there's a whole argument of if you're driving a big ship, it's difficult to change course. By the time you see the iceberg, you're already going to hit it. It's hard to change. But it's we've gone this far the wrong way really quick. So it's my goal here is to try to talk about it so that we can get back on the right path, the right direction. Start by just going back and looking at the past. Know your history. This carries over to a lot of different things.
Right.
If you know the past and you know where you began and where you started and what your foundations are, you'll have a better ability to program for the future, but also sticking with the things that made you great in the first place.
Right.
Yeah. So, there's a couple more. What do you think of the semifinals? Thoughts on the other events, the Torian Pro, Lowlands? We want to save that for another podcast?
We do need to save that for another
Go, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. Leave your questions, guys, in the chat. We'll get them to the next podcast. That's good. We'll talk about the other semifinals. We can talk about maybe some tests that I'll make up the series of tests, and we can talk about what I think would be a decent series of tests here that will be just classic CrossFit, because that's the way that I program. That's the way that I program for my gym. That's the way I program for the athletes that come into my gym. Dad that's trying to get fit, an older person that's trying to get stronger, healthier, whatever, or a young athlete that's trying to be competitive. They do CrossFit. It's one thing. CrossFit's not this random, arbitrary picking of movements that are just thrown together and you do them as fast as you can. That's not CrossFit. That's not the point. And you can dissect it and take it apart and put it in all these different things and just say it's this high intensity program or whatever, but it's not. It is something. It is one thing, and we're going to kind of work on defining it. How do you test for the fittest? How you should do it in your gym, that kind of thing. So we'll kind of go from there and we'll talk about it. But does that sound good?
Sounds good.
All right. Well, thanks for listening. We took forever to figure out how to do this podcast, so we'll be able to live stream it next time, and we will be on time. Hooty hoo.